Right, brilliant. Welcome, welcome. I promised you last week that we would have an easy session and then we didn't. So I've decided that for advertising standards, I'm not going to say up front what we're doing. I'm just going to go for it. However, the difference is I am going to let you lie down tonight. So at least I'm lulling you into a false sense of security. So if you would like to get yourself comfortable, laid on your back, you can either start with your legs extended or the knees bent if that's more comfortable for you. And we'll begin by just taking a few moments to make sure that you're kind of expanding the back of your body and allowing the full weight of your body to release a little more deeply into the mat beneath you. This is your time to take up space. So widen the arms a little if that feels good. Take the feet a little wider apart. Think about those joint ranges where you sometimes hold yourself a little tighter, specifically through the hips and the shoulders. Have a little wiggle of the shoulders, a little wiggle through the hips. Soften the buttocks, relax the inner thighs. Unclench the jaw and relax the tongue in the well of the mouth. So we're sending a message to the body that for the next hour, we'll be focusing on the body and the breath, that we'll be switching off that fight or flight mode, that we're welcoming an hour just for you, an hour of quiet and calm, to bring your body back into balance. Be aware of the breath, noticing the breath from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages, feeling the breath pass over the throat, noticing the subtle changes in the temperature of the breath. Cool on the breath in, warmer on the breath out. And I'll remind you that rather than breathing to the top third of the lungs, our intention is to breathe in and breathe down, filling the lungs completely. On the exhalation, emptying the lungs fully. You might notice that that breath out takes a little longer than the inhalation. With every exhalation, we're releasing the body of any tension, any negative energy. With every inhalation, we're sending that positive charge through the full length of the body, all the way to the palms of the hands, all the way to the soles of the feet. Energizing the body, preparing for the work of our practice this evening. Maintain that awareness of the deepened, lengthened inhalation, the long, slow exhalation. And just notice throughout our practice this evening, any time that it feels tempting to hold the breath. Return to this regular, steady pace. Now, taking note of how you've chosen to begin, let's take a moment to extend the legs along the mat so that we all start with legs rested on the floor, positioning the hands either side of the hips, palms turned up towards the ceiling. Gently drawing the shoulder blades together so that you can feel that connection through the flats of the shoulder blades, through the back of the head. On an inhalation, lift both arms overhead, point through fingers and point through toes. On the exhalation, let's allow the back of the hands to drift towards the floor. So we remain in this fully extended, lengthened position. Inhale to press through fingertips, pointing through toes. On the exhale, we'll keep the arms overhead, but we'll bring the fingertips in towards the palms, bringing the toes in towards the shins. So we're holding a little bit of tension in center here. Again, keeping that lovely lengthened position. Inhale to open through the fingers, point the toes away. Then exhale to squeeze the palms into fists, drawing the toes in towards the shins. Inhale, one further full length. Exhale, engage the core, draw the toes in, draw the fingers in. Inhale, take one further full length. This time on the exhalation, let's slide the right knee in towards the chest. So your choice whether the hands are rested behind the thigh or on top of the shin as you direct the knee towards the chest. So you want to apply a little pressure here, feeling as though you're rounding the lower back towards the floor. Adjusting through the hips now as you gently nudge that knee out towards the right shoulder. Draw that knee back in again towards centre. Once more applying that little bit of pressure, further releasing the lower back. Then on the inhalation, let's have that full length again. Lifting the arms overhead, pointing through fingers and toes. Straight to the exhalation to hug the left knee in. Again, a little pressure to release the back of the left hip. Rotating the knee out towards the left shoulder. Drawing that knee back to centre, applying a little extra pressure. Really feeling that space in the lower back release. Then inhaling and lengthening. Taking that full stretch through the whole body. Now let's leave the back of the hands an inch from the floor as we bring the thumbs together in an interlock, drawing the toes in towards the shins. On an exhale, we're squeezing the upper body over to the right hand side, which means you can feel a lift, a stretch through the left side of the rib cage, the waist. Inhale again to return to centre, pointing once more through fingers and toes. Then exhale back to that, drawing the toes in as you squeeze over to the left side, opening into the right side of the waist and the rib cage, lifting into that underarm. Inhale to lift, come back to centre. Then as you exhale, hug both knees in. Again, applying that little bit of pressure to release the lower back to the floor. We'll gently rock through the back of the hips, easing the lower back to the floor. Returning again to centre, placing the hands onto the knees and then drawing little circles with the knees. Change direction, take those circles the opposite way. We're just loosening into the hip joints. Draw the knees back again to centre, hugging the knees in towards the chest. Then replace both feet on the mat. Knees are bent, heels are hip width distance apart, the inside of the feet parallel, and we'll reposition the hands again either side of the hips. Let's keep the upper body released to the floor, keep that jaw unclenched. As you inhale to lift and lengthen through the right leg. As you exhale, tip the toe towards the shin and push through the heel. So we did some of this last week as we got into the back of the hamstring, into the calf. So we're inhaling to point through the toe, exhaling to flex. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Push a little more keenly again through the heel. Then on the out breath, engage the core, and we want to lower that thigh down until both thighs are level. So we've got a diagonal line now going from the hip through to the heel. Perfect. Now use the right big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Change direction, take those circles the opposite way. Bring the foot back to flexion. As you exhale, keep that core engagement, float the heel down to 1 inch off the floor. This time, rather than using the toe to draw circles, let's keep the foot in flexion and use the heel. So we're drawing circles to mobilise the top of the thigh into the hip joint. Change direction, take those circles the opposite way. Then we'll keep that heel 1 inch from the floor. Inhale once more to lengthen through the body, so lifting the arms overhead, point through fingers and toes. Then on an out breath, draw that right knee again in towards the chest. Replace that right foot on top of the left thigh, and for a moment we'll just pay attention to this right knee. Rather than leaving that knee rolled out, let's draw the knee in so that it's lining up with the nose or with the sternum, whichever is easier for you to picture. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, lift the left foot from the floor and squeeze that knee in towards the chest. So we're finding a little space now to the outside of the right buttock. On the next exhalation, let's see if we can draw that left knee a little closer. I'm a big fan of doing this without arms, but if you need a little bit of extra support, by all means, use the hands to draw that thigh back. On the exhale, engage the core, replace the left foot to the floor, unhook the right foot. Inhale now to lift and lengthen through the left leg. So again, we're going to start in the flexion position, pushing through the heel, just finding that little bit of tension through the back of the thigh, back of the calf. Inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Inhaling to point, coming again to full flexion. So I'll remind you again about the exhalation engaging the core. Kind of feels like you're feeling that little lift in the lower back. So we're supporting the muscles of the lower back as we lower that left heel down. We're in the diagonal action again, so we've got the heel through to the hip, using the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Then changing direction, taking those circles the opposite way. Oh, nice creaky joints there. Bring the foot to flexion. Inhale. As you exhale, engage the core. Lower the heel down to 1 inch from the floor. So the action again is drawing with the heel rather than the toe. So it feels like we're taking wide circles. Changing direction. Drawing those circles the opposite way. Keep that core engagement. For a moment, we'll continue to float that heel 1 inch from the floor, keeping that left foot in flexion. Then inhale to lift the arms overhead, pointing once more through fingers and toes. As you exhale, we'll release by drawing the knee in towards the chest. Then we'll park that left heel to the left ankle, to the outside of the right thigh. Again, adjusting the knee so that it's pointing in towards the nose. You might be mindful of that little lift in the lower back once more, so focus on the exhale to engage the core, close the space in the lower back. On the inhale, lift the right foot from the floor, squeeze the knee in. I always think it's interesting at this point to notice the difference between both sides. Typically, we have one side that's tighter than the other. Work with the breath to squeeze that knee a little closer just to slightly intensify that delicious stretch. I know you love it when I use words like delicious. Then replace that right foot to the floor. I'm going to keep the ankle rested on top of the thigh. We're just going to change the arm position now to take the arms out to make a T shape. So we get a sense that we're really wide through the chest, relaxed through the backs of the shoulder blades. We'll take a moment to lift the bottom just an inch from the floor, just enough to scoot the hips over to the left side, then replace the hips or the back of the hips onto the mat. On the next exhalation, bring that left knee over the midline of the body. We're drawing that knee down towards the floor. Work with the breath and take your time here. There's no rush to come into this full twist. By adjusting the hips slightly to the left, that keeps alignment between the hip and the shoulder, and it helps to just avoid that left shoulder popping up. Just to keep that left shoulder weighted to the floor, try turning your gaze over the length of the left arm. That weight in the head should just release that shoulder back. Once more, we're going to tune into that inhalation. Exhalation for a deeper, full release. A further inhalation from fingertip to fingertip. Then on the exhale, engage the core. Lift that right knee so that we're rolling that left thigh back to center. Beautiful. Let's unhook the left foot. We want to straighten up the hips again. Then we'll simply transition to bringing the right foot on top of the left thigh, keeping that T shape with the arms. Again, there's a little adjustment as you push the hips out to the right, making sure the back of the hips remain square to the floor. Then as you exhale, bring that right knee over the midline of the body, turning the gaze over the opposite arm. So the upper body feels nicely relaxed. You should be feeling the stretch at this point to the outside of the right hip. Just make sure you've got the right leg stacked. Beautiful. You can work with the breath to take that knee as low as you like. Work within your own range of movement. Focus on the inhale again to expand. The exhale to relax and release. The inhale again to open and expand. The exhale to engage the core, rolling the knees back again to center. Remember, we're slightly off center, so unhook that ankle, reset the hips to square. At this point, just hug both knees in towards the chest, and we'll just repeat that little rock and roll through the back of the hips. So when we've done that stretch, it's not unusual to feel one hip almost like sliding into place. We generally have one hip that holds a little higher than the other throughout the day. So as you come back to center, I'm going to suggest that we stay in this knees drawn in position. Pop the hands behind the thighs, that'll give you a little bit of purchase. Focus again on the breath. So as you inhale, you're expanding into the lungs and the rib cage. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll yourself up. Then inhale, roll back. Exhale, roll up. Inhale, roll back. Exhale, roll up. Inhale, roll back. One more time. Exhale, rolling up. Remain in this lifted position, and let's keep the hands behind the thighs so the heels are 2 or 3 inches off the floor. What we want to avoid here is too much curvature in the back, so try to lift with the sternum, keeping the back of the head lined up with the tailbone. So we kind of feel as though we're I guess, holding onto the bony parts of the sit bones. It shouldn't feel as though you're sitting onto the tailbone. If it does, you just have to adjust your weight a little bit further forward. Beautiful. Let's try to just remove the hands from behind the thighs. It does make it a little bit more challenging. Let's make sure that we haven't got the feet together. That won't help with balance. Keep lifting through the sternum. Beautiful. Let's see how it feels to just take the arms up overhead. So I always like that guide of the ears between the upper arms, pressing through the fingertips, engaging through the core. Then as you exhale, keep that core engagement as you support the back of the thighs. As you inhale, lift and lengthen. As you exhale, just rock forward. Beautiful, that was easy. Let's come straight into a Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to remain sitting side on so that we can see that discipline of the back of the head to the tailbone. So in your Baddha Konasana, your choice whether the heels are further away or whether you want to draw the heels a little closer to the groin, to just work a little bit harder into the hips, into the inner thighs. So again, we'll repeat the inhalation to lift and lengthen, the exhalation to hinge forward, drawing the shoulder blades together. So you're leading with the sternum rather than the chin if we can. Every out breath coming a little lower. Can you hear my little pussycat crying? Mummy, where are you? I'm here on my own. Then as you exhale, engage the core. Inhale, lift back again to center. Perfect. Let's come back into our chair, not chair pose, what am I talking about? I've forgotten the name of it, it's just gone out of my head. It's because I can hear the cat. Lift and lengthen, don't need to tell you what you're doing, just do it. Ease back into that diagonal shape again. Lift both feet from the floor, bring the hands either side of the thighs, lovely. So inhale, lift the arms up overhead. So we need that good core discipline, because if not, we'll start to borrow from the muscles in the lower back. So let's really exaggerate the breath. Take a deep breath in through the nose, a noisier breath out through the mouth. Deep breath in. Jelly beans are good. One more time. Inhale, lift the sternum. Exhale, hands behind the thighs. Inhale, lift and center. Exhale, hinge forward. Let's once more come into that Baddha Konasana. But this time we're just going to ease the chest over, and rather than holding onto the ankles, we're just going to walk the hands a little further forward. So don't worry if that creates curvature in the upper back. We can't really avoid that. Let's try to lengthen by extending the sternum and just folding a little deeper into this shape. As you exhale, engage the core. As you inhale, you can use your hands to walk you back towards center. Beautiful. I'll turn and face you now. I may jump up in a minute and let the cat in because she might just cry the whole time. So come into a cross, in fact I will, come into a cross leg position. Let's stack the right foot in front of the left ankle. So she's an old lady, so she's really vocal. She'll pretty much stay out the way, but she does like a chat. So lift, lift, lift and lengthen. Again, lifting out of the sit bones rather than the tailbone. And if you have a cat, oh, she's wet. That's probably why she's crying. She's been out in the rain. Bring the hands either side of the hips. Keep lifted and lengthened. So we're going to keep the right fingertips just touching the floor as we bring the left hand to the right knee. Lift up and lengthen, then follow the side of the rib cage rather than just pulling your shoulder back. And through the out breath, come into a twist. Inhale to lift. Exhale, come a little deeper into the twist. Sometimes helps if you look over the shoulder, but if you collapse that right shoulder left shoulder too much, you end up curving the spine. So keep drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones. On an exhale, we're not going to come all the way forward. We're just going to bring it so that the shoulders are now halfway over that bent right knee. Lift up and lengthen. I'm going to get a cat's bottom in my face. Then as you exhale, just take the body weight forward. Don't you dare scratch up that carpet, madam. Oreo. Thank you. On the exhale, ease a little lower. On the exhalation, engage the core. On the inhalation, push into the palms. Walk back again to centre. Reposition the hands behind the hips. Inhaling to lift, lift, lift. Bring the right hand to the left knee. Lift up and lengthen. Exhale to squeeze into the twist. And again, now is a good time to notice, is it easier to twist on this side than the other? On the out breath, take it a little deeper. Then inhale to create that length again. The exhalation to have the knee halfway between the shoulders, hand either side of the knee. Then as you exhale, hinge forward. My usual rule of thumb is to work the forearms towards the floor. You might be able to get the elbows onto the floor if you come into this slightly extended stretch. Just try to avoid lifting that right sit bone from the floor. As you exhale, engage the core. As you inhale, lift up into the palms and then exhale to return to centre. On the next out breath, let's walk both hands forward. So there's no twist. We've created a little bit of space already in the inner thigh. So remember, if you take the hands too far forward, it tends to jump the shoulders up. So we want the shoulders to be relaxed and we want enough space that we can just exhale the elbows towards the floor. This might be a good position for you. You might prefer to stack one fist on top of the other and bring the forehead to rest. If by doing so, you lift the bottom off the floor and you can feel your weights on your ankles, then come back to this version. If this still feels like there's a little bit more space in the inner thigh, you can place the palms flat, one on top of the other, and bring the forehead to rest. Beautiful. So work to the space where you feel that you're equally weighted. Take a deep breath in to widen through the chest. As you exhale, engage the core. Reposition the hands underneath the shoulders, then walk the hands back towards centre. Perfect. Let's bring the opposite foot in front. So we're lifting up and lengthening. So again, we start with both hands at the sides of the hips. So we go a little bit wider. I'll remind you that for most of us, getting the hands to the floor means that we would probably sag the upper body. So resting on the fingertips is fine. What we don't want is pushing into the fingertips because that just puts pressure on the finger joints. Extend the right hand away. Gently bring that palm to the floor. Inhale to lift the left arm up. In most cases, there's a little bit of limitation in the shoulder. There's quite a lot of weight in that arm. So let's just take a moment to inhale and squeeze that arm back, open through the side of the rib cage. Lovely. Now try to keep that lovely long diagonal. As you exhale, bring the right elbow in towards the side of the rib cage. As you inhale, trace that palm over the top of the head. We're aiming to bring the upper arm no further forward than the side of the ear. Every out breath, easing a little more deeply into this extension. Then inhale, lift, come back to centre. Easy done. Extend the opposite arm away. So again, bring the palm to the floor, lift and lengthen. Squeeze the shoulder blades together to open out through the chest. Inhale to lift, exhale to ease over. So you can't quite see because my knee's in the way, but we're trying to get that elbow to the floor. Lengthen through the fingertips. Even if it takes the gaze up to the ceiling to try and keep that heart space open, just find a way that you're not collapsing that top shoulder in. Then inhale, lift, come back to center. Replace both hands behind the hips. Again, fingertips are good at this point. Shoulder blades drawn together. So straight line now, plumb line from the back of the head to the tailbone. Inhale to lift the sternum, then continue by lifting the chin, lifting the gaze to the ceiling. Keep drawing the shoulder blades together and really opening through the space in the heart. As you exhale, let's bring the gaze forward, soften the shoulders. Inhale to extend the arms forward. Bring the hands to an interlock here. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in and roll through the spine. So it's kind of like an opposite action, tucking the chin towards the chest. Let's keep lengthening through the upper body. Inhaling to lift, turning the hands inside out. Exhaling to engage the core, soften the shoulders down. Inhale to lift the arms up overhead. So ideally, the underside of the chin is parallel to the floor. The ears are between the upper arms, and we're working with the breath to just come through that full range of movement. We'll all have a different range of movement here, don't force it. As you exhale, keep the core engaged, so we're protecting the lower back as we float the weight of the arms back to center. Separate the hands, bring the arms wide. Let's try and keep the wrists in line with the shoulders. Bring the fingertips in towards the palms, the thumbs are up in the universal sign of the fawns. Shoulder blades drawn together. Some of you are showing your age. Never expect the young ones to get that joke. I have to come up with some new ones, don't I? Every exhalation, we're engaging the core. Every inhalation, we're cooling the body down, lifting and lifting and lifting out of the sit bones. So this action really works to like almost like heat up your core. You can feel that inner agony burning. So I'm going to get you to do a really weird breathing technique while we're in this active posture. So not everyone will be able to do the first iteration of this, so there is two. The first iteration, if you can do it, is to roll the tongue that you make a straw, and I know that not everyone can do that. So first action is you're sipping the air in along that straw. Then soften the tongue and make it a nice noisy breath out. Sip it in. Noisy breath out. One more time, sip it in. One more noisy breath out. Did it take your mind off the aching shoulders? Not really. Twiddle the fingers. Give yourselves a hug. So right hand to the top of the left shoulder. Elbows are stacked one on top of the other. Lovely. Turn the head now so the underside of the chin is parallel to the floor. You're looking to the right. Bring the gaze back to center. Turn and look over the other shoulder. Bring the gaze back to center. Now I know that I offered you 2 iterations of straw breath and then proceeded to just give you one. From where I was sitting, it looked as if everyone could do it, which is why I didn't do the other version. So opposite arm on top. Da, 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 da. This is actually all about patting your head and rubbing your tummy, this one. Pretty much. Can we direct the right ear to be an inch off the right shoulder? We're not bringing the shoulder to the ear, we're just working with the breath to ease the weight of the head down towards the shoulder. So we're just finding a little space at the side and the back of the neck. Inhale to widen through the chest, exhale, engage the core, bring the head back to center. Then ease to the opposite side. Oh, that feels good. Inhale to widen through the chest, exhale, engage the core. Bring the head back to center. Lovely. Now separate those arms. Replace the hands behind the hips. So your choice this time, whether you want to repeat the first action we did, where we simply lift the chest, lift the gaze. If you wish, you can apply a little bit more pressure into the palms, not the fingers, pressing the shins forward, lifting the bottom from the mat and opening through the centre of the body. I just remembered I had a candle behind me there. I thought, I hope I've not set my hair on fire. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Lift through the chest, draw the shoulder blades together, press through the shins. Then as you exhale, release. Beautiful. I daren't go into wide leg fold because the cat looks so comfortable. So lucky for you, you're getting off with that tonight. Come into all fours for me, please. So knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. And we'll just start with a little bit of softening the elbows, softening the hips, a little bit of juicing it up. So if you want, little figures of 8, or just rocking from one side to the other. So we're easing through the shoulders, through the hips. I quite like this big action of moving forward and back, drawing figures of 8, just keeping it all nice and juicy-loosey. Returning again to a neutral spine position. So we want the wrists under the shoulders. We want to keep these elbows nice and soft. They're our shock absorbers. Spread through the fingertips. Draw the tummy button in. Take the right foot back, turn the toe under and press the heel towards the floor. Wide through the chest, easing that heel down. Focusing on the breath, inhaling to expand, exhaling to ease the heel a little deeper. Inhaling to expand, then exhaling to draw that knee in. On the next out breath, just simply take the opposite foot back. And again, this is one, the longer you hang around in it, the more you feel the shape, you feel the space appear. I always find that one side is tighter than the other. So work with your breath to ease the heel down, widening through the chest on the inhale. On the next exhale, engage the core, bring that knee back in. Extend both arms forward. So we're going to keep the palms almost stuck to the mat as if we've got glue there. Keep the elbows soft rather than locked, and as you exhale, push the sit bones back towards the heels. So the intention is to create a diagonal line from the wrist through the elbows to the side of the ears, the shoulders. Pressing through the sit bones, lifting the tailbone a little if that feels good. Then lowering down onto the forearms, inhaling to lift the chest forward, bringing the thighs to the floor. So you can start with the forehead rested on the mat. Just make sure that the elbows are either side of the chest, that the hands are comfortably either side of the head. Keep drawing the shoulder blades together. Take a minute to focus on pressing the thighs to the mat. That will just anchor us. Then as you inhale, push into the forearms, lift the chest. So this action is not about lifting your gaze and putting strain on the lower back or into the neck. The intention here is to lift the chest forward. Then as you exhale, turn to look over one shoulder. As you inhale, look ahead. Oreo, thank you. I exhale, look over the other shoulder. Then inhale, look ahead. On the out breath, lower down. So you know the tolerance of your lower back better than I do. So you can either repeat that Sphinx pose we just did, or if you prefer, you can come into the full Cobra pose with me. So palms this time are either side of the chest. The elbows are drawn in to create a little bit more stability for the shoulders. Again, the thighs pressed into the mat. Inhale to lift the chest. Keep pushing the thighs, the hips towards the floor, lengthening as you open the sternum forward, softening the shoulders back and down. We'll focus on warm feather inhalation. Then as you exhale, engage the core. Lengthen all the way back into a full child's pose. We're going to allow ourselves a little bit more release this time. So rather than the hands stuck to the mat, lift the fingertips and press the wrist to the mat. Keep pushing through the sit bones. Bring the palms to the floor. Engage the core. Inhale, lift. Come back to that all fours position. Turn both toes under. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll up through the spine. Keep those elbows nice and soft. I always prefer to rest on top of the feet as I reverse the curve to inhale and lift the chest forward. Exhale, rolling up. Try to guide from the lower back rather than the middle back. Then inhale, lift the chest forward. Come back up into that all fours position. I'm just going to adjust my mat a little further forward because I know what's coming next and I don't want to kick the glass table. Forgive me, you're all like, oh good God, what's coming next? So keep those elbows soft, step both feet back. So we want to come into a plank, which means that the bottom's not up in the air, that the thighs are parallel to the floor. Again, we're observing that diagonal line from the back of the head, through the hips, to the heels, focusing on the breath. On the next exhalation, we're going to lower ourselves down. So take your time, exhale to lower down onto the knees, the chest, the chin. If you prefer chaturanga, you can take that. Then on the inhalation, travel through into the cobra or the sphinx. Then exhale, release back. Lift back up into your all fours position. I like to walk my hands a little further forward. We're going to come back to the plank again. So stepping the feet back, coming into the plank. Just because of the way my camera is situated, you'll have my back to you first. So rolling to the right, coming up into a side plank. Position 1, T shape. Position 2, bringing that upper arm over the ear. Inhale, lift. Come back to center. I couldn't see you because I had my back to you. So this side is just you. So let's see you over to the opposite arm, left arm. Make sure that you're bringing those hips perpendicular to the mat. So the hips are in line with the shoulders. Don't keep the hips square to the floor. Beautiful, some good action here. Replace the hand. Then come back down into either your knees, chest, chin, or your chaturanga. Inhale, lift. Then exhale, release back. Let's relax the shoulders now. So we're going to make two fists, one on top of the other. Bring the forehead to rest on top of the palms. And then just roll through the forehead. So as we always do, bringing one ear parallel to the floor. Roll through the forehead, the opposite ear parallel to the floor. And back to center. Beautiful. And lift back up into that all fours position. Nice, you've done really well tonight. Soz, we just did a little bit of plank work. It's not terrible. So we're going to go into the pigeon pose now. When we do the pigeon pose, I'll do the opposite leg first because I can demonstrate it easier if you can see my upstage leg, if that makes sense. So I'm going to slide the left knee forward. You can choose whatever leg you like. It's just easier for me to demonstrate. It always helps, I think, to pick up that back knee and just park it a little further back. In an ideal world, you want to sniggle that left foot under the right hip. So at the moment my hip's quite high. On the out breath, I'm going to bring that hip to rest into the sole of the foot. It helps to bring the forearms to the floor. And then that action that we just did where we stacked both palms on top of the other, that just means that you're resting less into your upper body. And then if you can bring your palms to the floor and bring the head down, that would be super awesome. So the last thing we want in this posture is to be putting too much strain on that bent knee. So rather than feeling that you're rolling out onto that knee, which is the typical reaction, can we try to bring the hips square to the floor? When you square the hips, you will find that right hip flexor starts to warm up the foot underneath. So you'll get much better chance of contact if you're there. Beautiful. So I'm just holding you here for a moment, just getting used to that sensation. Last week we did a little bit of opposite hand, opposite leg business. So if you were here last week or you did the class recording, you can channel that as we come to the next bit. So momentarily, we're going to lift ourselves back up just so that we can see what's going on. So we're still in this pigeon position where we've got the hip flexor resting onto the top of the foot. Easy action, just lift the right foot off the floor. That's the easy bit. So you're just bending that knee and lifting that heel up. Perhaps a little bit more challenging. Left hand to right foot or right hand to left foot. Don't do the same arm on the same leg because you will fall over. And we're coming into this shape. So what you want to watch in this shape is that you don't twist yourself out of kilter again. So as we did before, the last place we want to feel it is the knee. So let's make sure the hips are square, the shoulders are square, that your gaze is straight ahead. And we're just playing with that heel and we're just teasing that heel a little bit closer towards the buttock. I'm sorry, I know this isn't everyone's favourite, but we haven't done it in simply ages. Replace that foot to the floor, turn the toe under, elbows nice and soft, push the left foot back, come straight into a plank. It's like ripping off a plaster, the best way to do it. If we faff about, you'll have something to moan about. On the out breath, lower down, knees, chest, chin, elbows in, bottom up. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, rest, rest, rest. In child's pose. So because we were holding ourselves up a little bit, let's give the wrists a rest by parking them either side of the ankle. And it doesn't matter what shape you make in child's pose. If your head's not on the floor, it doesn't matter. You just find the posture where you can relax the shoulders, curve the spine. You kind of let it all hang loose in this posture. Then bring your way back up into all fours, because guess what? We've got to do the other side. Or you'll be walking around like you're all done on one side and not the other. So I started with my left, so I'm now going to squeeze the right knee forward, lift that back knee up, sniggle the right foot under the left hip flexor. So I know this side I'm less flexible, so I've still got that little bit of gap. So the reminder to myself here is not to allow myself to roll out onto that right side. I want to be square, hips and shoulders in alignment. It starts to become a little bit easier when you take the weight off the wrists. So you're focusing more on bringing your upper body weight over that bent knee. Again, there's the option to do the fist thing to rest the head. Or if you can make it more comfortable, you can bring the forehead to the two stacked palms.
What I love about this is the really deep, deep, deep release, that you start to feel that real letting go around the right buttock. Where there's tightness in the hamstrings, you start to feel that kind of slightly, it's almost like it starts off clenched and then it just slowly goes, okay, I get it now, I can let go. So work with the breath. Allow yourself a little release here. So in yin yoga, you might hold this side for up to 10 minutes, which feels like torture at this moment in time. But there is a moment, there's a point where you get to maybe about 6 minutes where it starts to feel like, oh yeah, this is it, we're here. I am not going to test that theory with you, don't worry. So we're going to do that evening out again. So come back up onto the palms of the hands. And if you recall, what we did was we just tipped the heel in, and it's the opposite hand that reaches now for the ankle. You can get the hem of your leggings if you can't quite reach the foot. You can use a strap or a belt. I'm very aware that my hips have slightly gone out of alignment now, so my left hip is very open. So I'm going to bring the hips square, which means that my left thigh is really getting stretched. Thanks very much. Lift the sternum forward, keep looking forward, teasing that heel a little closer towards the buttock. That's what gives you that lovely stretch through the front of the thigh. Then as you exhale, release that foot down. And again, rip that plaster off, step back into plank. You don't have to do knees, chest, chin. You can just collapse if you want. Just lower down. So I've kind of ended up with you on your tummy. You can stay in this position. It's not for everyone. Some people feel a little bit funny on their tummy. So if you prefer to roll over onto your back, you're very welcome to. If you choose to be in this position, you might again prefer to just stack one palm on top of the other. It just means that when you rest your forehead, you've got space for your nose, you can breathe. I always think widening the feet a little bit more than hip distance in this posture works well. And if you were holding the breath a little when we were doing the pigeon, which isn't uncommon because we've quite a lot to concentrate on, you might notice that your breath just feels a little bit more rapid now. So just take a few moments to regulate the rhythm of your breath. If you've remained in the crocodile pose on your tummy, what you'll notice is that with every inhalation, when you fill your lungs completely, it's almost as though you lift yourself off the mat. And then when you exhale, you allow the full weight of your bones to sink back into the floor. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling fully. Slowly releasing the weight of your body back towards the earth. Directing the inhalation to the belly, the chest, then the collarbones. Then exhaling from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly last. Inhaling, filling the lungs and the belly completely. Exhaling, releasing fully. I want to allow you a moment here of quiet and calm. the monkey chatter of your mind starts to rear its head, just ask it to wait. As you feel your body release, the rhythm of your breath, natural, invite your mind to quiet. Anytime the attention wanders, return your full focus to the breath. Inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. If you feel distracted, if you feel that you need to change your position, then do so. Make any adjustments you need. And rather than encouraging you to sit back up again this evening, I'm going to let you choose whether you just remain here in quiet for a few moments, or if you want to adjust from your back to your front. And front to your back. To remain comfortable as I bring my hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. You take your time. If you're perfectly comfortable there, just stay there. How often do you get the chance to just lie down without judgment? If you prefer, take a long stretch. Slowly bring yourself back to the room. Fondle your pets. Give them a hug. They've waited patiently. And I will bid you all a pleasant evening. So next week I will be in the new studio, so the recording will look a lot smarter than here. But I'm going on Saturday to check the tech, so I hope that everything works. There's no minute like last minute, is there?